What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the boundlessly boisterous Dr. Disaster. And as a schadenfreude enthusiast, and as someone who has watched Square Enix crap all over brands that I have adored for decades, it is with great pleasure that I get to announce that Square Enix is still feeling the financial effects of the poor decisions that they've made in recent years.
We are so screwed.
Recently, Square Enix has focused on making games like Forspoken, which was consulted on by Black Girl Gamers, a consultancy group that operates very similarly to Sweet Baby Inc. Square Enix has used awful localizers who have used their remakes and remasters as their own personal platform to push progressive politics. Much has been made of the ethics department that has infested the company like a freaking tumor, because of course a department like that is often transformative in a bad way, but for whatever reason, Square Enix has gotten away from what made them giants in the industry.
In case you didn't know, this is what stupid looks like.
The most ridiculous thing about this situation is how it was entirely avoidable. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 has been one of the most eye-opening games in years, not just in the sense that it is a really fun and well put together game, but in the way that they took the old Final Fantasy formula and just ran with it to such success. If someone didn't know better, you could have convinced them that Claire Obscure was actually Final Fantasy 17, and they would have thought that it was a return to form for Square Enix. Claire Obscure has shown that the formula for Final Fantasy games from years ago still works, and it works well. Square Enix just won't do it though. We can blame the ethics department, the localizers, or whoever you want to blame, but at the end of the day, this is all that matters. The company is struggling.
Let me out of my misery.
Square Enix's European branch has just had to report that their financial losses are mounting up. They lost money last year, which is just plain inexcusable when you think about the tremendous IP that Square Enix has access to. Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest are some of the most beloved franchises around, but for some reason they can't seem to capitalize on them, which is ridiculous. But that failure to capitalize is why we saw this here. The company is preparing to cut a ton of employees loose.
I'm ruined. I have nothing left.
Oh, poor baby.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I've begun uploading some content onto Rumble as well, so make sure that you follow Dr. Disaster on that site too. Also, give me a follow over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1. But alright, let's talk about this news out of Square Enix, where the European branch of the company, Square Enix Limited, they've announced that they lost money last year. This article here comes to us from the site Automaton, and it says down here, the European branch of Final Fantasy developer Square Enix saw worsening financial losses in the fiscal year that ended on March 31st. Headquartered in London, Square Enix Limited develops, publishes, distributes, and licenses Square Enix content in Europe and other PAL territories. In the past fiscal year, the company posted an operating loss of 12.57 billion yen, about $87 million, and a net loss of 12.64 billion yen. Revenue was down 7% year over year, so over in Europe, the company actually lost money and they were down from the previous year, which is really bad when you consider that the previous year before that was also a down year. As it says in the article though, the deficit margin has widened significantly compared to the previous fiscal year of April 23 to March 24, when Square Enix Limited reported an operating loss of approximately $50 million and a net loss of roughly $47 million. In 2024, the European and US branches of Square Enix underwent restructuring with an undisclosed number of employees in publishing and IT positions being laid off. The wave of layoffs came in the wake of Square Enix posting large-scale losses related to canceled games and announcing a reformed mid-term business plan. The thing is, Square Enix remains a powerhouse in Japan. People still get excited about their games over there, but their stuff at Square Enix just isn't clicking with people in the West any longer. This arrangement is enough to keep the company afloat, but they are losing the power and grandeur that they once enjoyed. We've talked about this a bit here on the channel before, but Final Fantasy these days sells a lot less than it did a few decades ago. In fact, sales are about down by half. They have really fallen off in the West, which is weird since Japanese culture in general has never been more popular over here in the West. Manga and anime just keep growing, so you would think that a franchise like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest would thrive, but that simply isn't the case. You can blame the localizers or the ethics department or whoever you want to blame, but something has caused the games from this company to grow stale for Westerners. And that is why we saw this news a few months ago. Square Enix knows that they're hemorrhaging money in their Western ventures, so they are preparing to lay off more employees. This article from PC Gamer talked about it. They say here, Square Enix is set to become the latest game company to put employees out of work, as the company has confirmed it will soon be imposing layoffs at its US and EU offices. Hints of trouble first came to light in Square Enix's new medium-term business plan revealed earlier today, in which it laid out a strategy to aggressively pursue multi-platform game development, as well as initiative designed to win over PC users, which represent a growth market. That all sounds well and good, but the bad news was buried deeper in the document under the header Rebuild Overseas Business Divisions from the Ground Up, which says Square Enix has begun optimizing costs at its European and American offices via structural reforms. If there's one thing we've learned over the past year and a half of games industry carnage, it's that optimization and restructuring are code words for eliminating jobs, and that is indeed the case here as well. And the thing is, there's pretty much no excuse for this. There is almost no reason that a game company as prominent as Square Enix should have to contract like this, except for their insistence on doing stupid shit like this right here. Why in the hell would they ever listen to an ethics department and tone down Tifa? Why they would ever do that is beyond me. Maybe they're allergic to money. Maybe they've decided they've made enough of it, which is why they left a gaping hole in the market for turn-based RPGs with authentic stories that aren't toned down by some ethics police. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 took advantage of that gap in the market, and they did it with less than 50 employees. And I can promise you that with a company that size, a AA studio that runs a lean operation, they certainly don't have an ethics department over there, which goes to show which way the wind is blowing in the industry. AAA studios are spending a shitload of money on elements of their companies that aren't just worthless, they are actively damaging their brand, which is why we are seeing Square Enix contract like this. But unless they start removing the cancer from their company, they will likely continue to shrink. But I'm going to leave it there. Drop your contempt for the ethics department of Square Enix and the idiots who continue to employ them. Drop that contempt into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.